If you teach music privately, this is hopefully going to be helpful to you in terms of how to grow your teaching business. So here's a real life dilemma faced by a musician I know. And I'm curious to see if you'll come up with a solution for that dilemma. And I think you'll be surprised by the one that I suggested. Now, if you're a teacher or just someone who works for yourself, there are a couple morals from this. The dilemma. He runs a private teaching studio. He's married with 2 kids, and their entire family is moving across the country. How is he going to avoid losing months' worth of income while he tries to get students and freelance gigging work in the new town? What should he do? What would you tell him? Bear in mind, he isn't just a friend, he's a client. I help him and other freelancers by giving business coaching, career advice. And so it was my job to give him a solution. I'll bet you'll never guess the answer I gave him. The solution I gave him is one that most people discount because they don't think it would work. And I was confident that it would work, but of course I was really thrilled when it actually did work. So think about it. What would you suggest? Here's what I did. I told him to simply tell all of his existing students that he was moving, but that he planned to keep teaching them on Skype. And it totally worked. He retained 80% of his students when he moved cross country. I know. We imagine all the objections everyone would have, the parents, the students, all the bad things that would happen and all the reasons that this could not work. But it totally worked. And all those objections are based on assumptions. Just because we've always done something one way doesn't mean it's the best way to do it. Now, it's now 6 months after the move, and his studio families couldn't be happier. In fact, they're probably getting more value from working with him on Skype, especially considering the additional things that he added, which I'll get into later in this video. Before the move, he had 12 students at the time in his studio. He was ready to fire 2 of those students, and of the remaining 10, 8 stayed with him. And that was more than enough to help him keep his family on their feet through the move. And they're doing great. Whether you move across country or not, and whether you're a classroom or private teacher, there are a few easy ways to leverage technology to improve teaching for the students as well as the teacher, which I'll get into in a minute as one of the 2 big takeaways I want you to get from this. The other takeaway here has to do with solving problems related to your freelance career. If you work for yourself, like this musician that I mentioned who does a mix of private teaching and freelance gigging, you may wake up some days wondering how you're going to get more work or make enough money to survive. You may wonder how to work more with the clients you actually like or do music that you actually like. You may get tired of doing something a certain way or with certain people or want to change up. Or you may move to a new city and need to start over. For most of us, this can create overwhelm as our minds race in between what goal to pursue and how to sell our services effectively. Freelancers also get distracted worrying about different forms of marketing, a version of not seeing the forest for the trees, which I've covered in this article that I'll link to in the description. In my client's case, it felt to me more like of a what question, reframing the goal. The normal approach would be to ask how to get new students in a new town. I flipped the goal on its head because we all know that it's easier to keep existing students than get new students. Same with any kind of clients. You'd be surprised how often I help my clients by flipping something on its head this way, because many of us, when we're overwhelmed by the pressure of working for ourselves, we just can't see the straightest path. The moral is that we get stuck and we can help ourselves by getting feedback and support from someone else who's qualified to help us see through it from outside of our tunnel vision. There is a how component as well, i.e. how to keep existing students while moving on to Skype. And this was a question asked of me by a reader who is not moving. He's in Chicago and he asked me, how do I move my existing private students to Skype? And it's actually his question that prompted me to write this entire article. The short answer is this: just do it. You don't have to ask permission. It's your studio, and you get to define the terms and ways in which you work. And you can make it great for your students. Students work with you because you care enough to show up for them and do their best. And that won't change if you use Skype. Don't ask permission. Trust the process, be confident, and let them know that you're committed to making it work. If you're not sure, take a Skype lesson with another teacher who's accustomed to make it work, and you can observe your own experience as a student during the lesson. There are a few small things anyone can do to make Skype lessons effective. I even offer a free Skype lesson during special promotions. I'll put it in the card or in the pinned comment. So you could try a free lesson with me if you like. The long answer brings us back to the first takeaway, though, which is why this is important for teachers. Private teachers, as well as classroom teachers, can improve retention, assessment, accountability, and more with very simple technology. And it'll save tons of time. I addressed some of these things related to video a few months ago in a separate video. But here are specific benefits of using Skype and or video exchange. Skype for private lessons saves time, whether that's commuting for the student, the parent, and often for the private teacher, saves time. The main drawbacks are that you can't play simultaneously with your student, and you can't lay hands on your student, in case that's important in some situations. But there are ways to minimize and more than make up for these drawbacks. If your students are prepared with backing tracks, this can make up for not having the ability to accompany them. In many situations, they can perform also unaccompanied. But setting them up with a document telling them how to find and set up backing tracks can be helpful to them. For that matter, you can easily prepare a simple FAQ for them with everything you need to know to prepare for Skype or Zoom or FaceTime or Facebook Messenger or any other platform lessons or any other platform that you want to give them lessons on. This could include how to become connected, how they can set up an account if needed, whether to use a laptop, headphones, how to set their audio and video, what to expect, etc. Now, one disclaimer I'll include is that I've had less experience with very young students on Skype. I presume that for students under the age of 9, the presence of their parents could be helpful. Similarly, some seniors, more older people may be less accustomed to some of the technology. But again, if you're willing to help them get set up, they will likely be happy to adapt to the new technology once they learn it. One of the benefits of Skype lessons is the ease with which you can record the lessons through apps such as Call Recorder. I always send a video recording to my students following the lesson, and this gives added value. You can do this with Zoom as well, which brings me to a really important suggestion for all teachers: video exchange. I offer all my students the opportunity to send me videos as progress reports on their work. This increases retention and accountability. Teachers, you could assign your students to make a video and send you a link to verify that they practiced by midweek or even every day if you want. Classroom teachers can assess students this way. And when you make a video of yourself teaching a specific sequence to a student, you can repurpose this video for all your students. To increase the effectiveness of a lesson, you can send students the video prior to the lesson. They watch the video prior to meeting you, and when they meet you, you help them work on it. This is known as flipping the classroom. When you make a video teaching one specific thing for one student, then this specific thing is generally useful to other students. So to decide on content to make, answer the question or problem of one student. Then do that same thing many times over, answering a specific question or a specific problem of one student. And then eventually you will have a library of your best teaching videos, teaching all the challenges in your way. This library can be given to your students ahead of the lesson, making the lesson much more effective. You can charge a subscription to the library, or you can simply give it as an added value of studying in your studio. You can release some of these videos in your library on YouTube as a way to promote and recruit more students. This is great for working with a clinician in a residency as well. The residencies I do all offer online support before and after to support that event at that school. And for classroom teachers, when they bring me into their school, this is a great way to see how to incorporate my ideas as a teacher. So you can imagine that I felt really good about having the right answer for my friend and my client, and knowing that he might not have found that answer without my support. Bottom line is we can all benefit from support, and there are various ways to get it. If you're interested in growing your business this year and you'd like to see whether or not I'm a good fit, reach out to me. I'll leave a link here. If you're a teacher and you'd like to engage your students in new ways or provide new curriculum relevant to their needs, consider bringing me to your school. As always, I'd love to get your comments, your feedback on this. I hope it's helpful to you. Please subscribe, leave a comment, reach out to me, and let me know if there's any other topics related to music business that you have specific questions about.